Hi viewers, in this video we are going to discuss about Orem's general theory. My name is K. Priyadashni, working as a lecturer in MMM Madras Medical Mission College of Nursing. Objectives of this video: at the end of the section, the viewers are able to define what is Orem self-care theory, let's term the assumption of Orem self-care theory, explain the major concepts of Orem self-care theory, and discuss the strength and weakness of Orem self-care theory. Dorothea Orem is a nurse theorist who pioneered the self-care deficit nursing theory. And this is the image of Dorothea Orem. The full name of Dorothea Orem, Dorothea Elizabeth Orem, the life period from July 15, 1914 to June 22, 2007. Dorothea Orem, one of the America's foremost nursing theorists who developed the self-care deficit nursing theory, otherwise known as Orem model of nursing. And between 1959 and 2001, Dorothea Orem developed a self-care nursing theory or Orem model of nursing. It is considered a grand nursing theory. Why means the theory covers a broad scope with general concept and it is applicable to all instances of nursing. So we use it to term as grand nursing theory. The definition of self-care according to Dorothea Orem: the act of assisting others in the provision and management of self-care to maintain or improve the human functioning at the home level of effectiveness. In this, it focuses on each individual ability to perform self-care. And one more definition: self-care is defined as the practice of activity that individual initiate and perform on their own way of maintaining the life, health and well-being. One more definition: the condition that validates the existence of a requirement for nursing in an adult is the absence of ability to maintain continuously the amount and quality of self-care which is therapeutic in sustaining the life and health, in recovering from disease or injury, or coping with the effect. For children, the condition is the parent inability to maintain the continuity for the child, the amount and quality of care that is therapeutic. Okay, in an adult, the absence of ability to maintain continuously the amount and quality of self-care, and for children, the condition is the parent's inability to maintain continuity for the child amount and quality of care. This definition given by Orem in the year 1991. Let's discuss the assumption of the self-care deficit theory. To stay alive and remain functional, humans engage in constant communication and connect among themselves and their environment. The power to act deliberately is exercised to identify the needs and to make the needed judgment. Matured human beings experience privation in the form of action in care of self and others involving making life-sustaining and function-regulating actions. Human agency is exercised in discovering, developing and transmitting to other ways and means to identify for makes inputs into self and others. Group of human beings with structured relationship, cluster tasks and allocate the responsibility. These are all the assumption of self-care deficit theory. This is the diagrammatic representation of Orem self-care theory conceptual framework. Four important factors are there that are self-care, self-care demand, nursing agency and self-care agencies. Major concepts of the self-care deficit theory. First, we will discuss about nursing. Nursing is an art through which the practitioner of nursing gives specialized assistance to the persons with disability, making more than ordinary assistance necessary to meet the self-care needs. The nurse also intelligently participates in the medical care the individual receives from the physicians. Humans are defined as men, women, and children cared for either singly or as social unit. And or the material objects of nurses and others who provide direct care. The environment as physical, chemical, and biological features. It includes the family, culture, and community. Health Health is being structurally and functionally whole or sound. Also, health is a state that encompasses both the health of the individual and the group, and human health is the ability to reflect on oneself, symbolize the experience, and communicate with others. And self-care, according to Dorothy Orem self-care theory, self-care is the performance or practice of the activities that individuals initiate and perform on their own behalf to maintain the life, health, and well-being. Self-care agency. Self-care agency is the human's ability or power to engage in self-care, and it is affected by the basic conditioning factors. Basic conditioning. What is basic conditioning factors? Basic conditioning factors are age, gender, developmental state, health state, socio-cultural orientation, healthcare system related factors, family system related factors, pattern of living, environmental factors, resources adequacy and availability. This and all comes under basic conditioning factors. This plays a major role in self-care agency, and self-care deficit. Therapeutic self-care demand. Self-care agency is the ability to power to engage in self-care and is affected by the basic conditioning factors. Self-care deficit. Self-care deficit delineate when nursing is needed, and nursing is required when an adult is incapable of or limiting in providing continuous effective care. Nursing agency is a complex property or attribute of the people educated and trained as nurses. Those enables them to act, know, and help others to meet the therapeutic self-care demands of the patient. Nursing system. What is nursing system according to Dorothea self-care nursing theory? It is the product of a series of relation between the person, legitimate nurse and the legitimate client. This system is activated when the client's therapeutic self-care demand exceeds the available self-care agency, leading to nursing. The self-care deficit theory of nursing is composed of three interrelated theories. Basically, the first one is theory of self-care. Second one is self-care deficit theory. Third one, the theory of nursing system, which is further classified into wholly compensatory and partially compensatory and supportive educative. Okay, the theory of nursing system classified into wholly compensatory, partially compensatory, and supportive educative. First, a theory of self-care. This theory focuses on the performance of or practice of activities that the individual initiate and perform on their own to maintain the life or to maintain the health and the well-being. In theory of self-care itself, we have three types: universal self-care and developmental related self-care and healthcare related self-care. First, universal self-care. Universal self-care requests are associated with the life processes. Example, maintenance of sufficient intake of air, maintenance of sufficient intake of water, sufficient intake of food, the provision of care associated with the elimination process and the experiment. This and all comes under universal care requests. Continuation of universal self-care requisites: maintenance of balance between the activities and the rest, maintenance of balance between the solitude and social interaction, prevention of hazards to human life, human functioning, human well-being, promotion of human functioning, development within the social group with human potential, known human limitation, and human desire to be normal. This and all comes under universal self-care requisites. Second one, developmental self-care requests. Developmental self-care requests are either specialized expression of universal self-care requests that have been particularized for developmental process, or they are new requests derived from a condition or associated with the event. Next, health deviation related self-care requests. Being aware of attending to or regulating the discomfort or deleterious effects of prescribed medical measures. Modifying the self-concept and accepting oneself as being in a particular state of health and in need of specific forms of healthcare. Learning to live with the effects of pathological condition and the states and the effects of medical diagnostic treatment measure in a lifestyle that promote continued personal development. Health deviation, because of disorders the patient is getting some kind of deviation. For those, what kind of self-care requisite is needed? Second concept, theory of self-care deficit. In this theory delineates when nursing is needed. Nursing is required when an adult is incapable of or limited in providing continuous effective self-care. Orem identified 5 methods of helping. First one, acting for or doing for others, guiding others, supporting others, providing an environment promoting personal development about meet the future demands, and teaching others. Third one is theory of nursing system. In this, it's a product of a series of relation between the person, legitimate nurse, and the legitimate client. This nursing system is activated when the client therapeutic self-care demand exceeds the available self-care agency. That time, it's leading to the nursing. Nursing theory of nursing system divided into 3 times that we have already seen. First one, wholly compensatory nursing system. In the system, it is represented by a situation in which the individual is unable or to engage in self-care actions requiring for their own activity. So, person with these limitations are socially dependent on others for their continued existence and well-being. Example for this a wholly compensatory nursing system, care of newborn, care of client recovering from surgery in a post-anesthesia unit. Partial compensatory nursing system. This is represented by a situation in which the both nurse and the person measures or other actions involving the manipulative task or ambulation. Example, nurse can assist a post-operative client in ambulating. Nurse can bring a meal tray for a client who can feed himself. So both the person, nurses and the patient, both together, they are working for the need. Third one is supportive educative system. This is also known as supportive developmental system. In this, the person can perform or should learn to perform the required measures of externally or internally oriented therapeutic self-care, but cannot do so without assistance. Example, nurse guide a mother how to feed a baby, or counseling his psychiatric client on more adaptive coping strategies. So in this, the healthcare professional providing support or education or knowledge to the person. Strengths. Orem theory provides comprehensive basis for nursing practice. It has utility for the professional nursing in the area of nursing practice, nursing education, and nursing administration. Self-care, the term, and nursing system, self-care deficit are easily understood by the beginning nursing student also and can be explored in greater depth as they gain more knowledge and experience. Strength of Duratia Orem theory, he specifically defines when nursing is needed. Nursing is needed when the individual cannot maintain continuously the amount and quality of self-care necessary to sustain the life and health, recover from disease or injury, or cope up with the effect. So specifically defines when nursing is needed. And our self-care approach is contemporary with the concept of health promotion and health maintenance. This is the strength of Duratia Orem theory. Limitations of Orem theory. Orem theory in general is viewed as a single whole thing, while Orem defines a system as a single whole thing. And Orem theory is simple yet complex. The use of self-care in multitudes of terms, such as self-care agency, self-care demand, self-care deficit, self-care requisite, universal self-care, and can be very confusing to the reader. Orem definition of health was confined to 3 static conditions. which he refers to as concrete nursing system, which connotes rigidity. Throughout our work, there is a limited acknowledgement of individual emotional needs, and health is often viewed as a dynamic and ever-changing one. These are all the limitations of Orem theory. Till now, we have discussed about Ritchie Orem self-care theory, the major concepts of that theory, and the aspect how it plays for nursing, theory of self-care deficit, theory of self-care deficit system, theory of nursing care system, all those things, and what are all the strengths and weakness of Ritchie Orem self-care theory. I hope you are all able to understand what is Ritchie-Orem self-care theory and what are all the concepts behind that, strength and weakness of that theory. Thank you so much for your support.